Hello and welcome to Boomer Live. We are back and we're going to be talking about the two games which just got over today. As you all know, today was a deciding day for the teams to make it to the Super 12s from the other group. And today we saw the two-time world champions being knocked out of the T20 World Cup. As Ireland is a team who's making through to the Super 12s. And at the other end, we have had Zimbabwe who put in a spirited performance against Scotland to make it to the Super 12s as well. So Zimbabwe will be making it to the India's group, and Ireland will be going into a group filled with so many big teams, with the likes of Australia, England, New Zealand. Ireland are the new addition to it. Surprising. Yesterday we did predict that there could be a chance of an upset, and as we predicted, that's what exactly happened. Ireland brought their A game with the likes of Paul Sterling, and they're just coming in and putting the opening partnership up there, and from there on, they did not look back. And also West Indies, they just managed to score 144. It was not a good score on that kind of wicket. I'll get to Jaren first up. How do you react to a game like this? Because two-time world champions are knocked out and would not expect that coming from the start of the tournament.
Absolutely right. Because it's going to hurt West Indies a lot. They came into this World Cup with at least a lot of, high hopes in comparison to how it's been for them in the T20 format for a long time. And this West Indies team, it consists of superstars, and every player that plays in that in that squad is a player who plays for some franchise cricket somewhere, someplace, and T20 cricket is their staple format. And so to be crashing out of the World Cup this early is going to really hurt them. And having said that, I think just West Indies did not look the part at all today. They were just choked. What Ireland did very well was the fact that Ireland made sure that they balled to West Indies, where the West Indians had to take on the strong with the longer side of the rope on the of the boundary. And because and they also employed slower deliveries and made sure that the pace was not there. It was very nice to see that Andrew Balburney, he used the spinners excellently, and especially I think spinners were the ones for Ireland who really did well, because they took the pace off, asked West Indies to power the balls out of the ground, and I felt towards the end West Indies fell for it, because they again tried to bully the bowlers, which is what we spoke about yesterday as well. That it's not going to work out as often, and that's exactly what happened. West Indies ended up scoring very less. I think they should have even ended lower if not for Odean Smith towards the end of it. But unfortunately, the way they played in the power play as well, West Indies, I really did not agree with any of the decisions they took in the power play, because they did not bring on their gun bowlers, Alzari Joseph and Obed McCoy. Should have been brought on in the power play. You should have tried to get those wickets, because Irish top order is struggling and has been struggling for the first two matches. So you kind of allowed them a way out by bringing in your weaker bowlers, and Odean Smith probably was a worst decision to bring him in the power play, because he hasn't been doing well in the power play at all. His record in the power play is very bad, and he's just added to those records today. So I think overall it was the game where Irish plans really set themselves in place, while West Indies came into the game without much planning, from what it seemed like.
I mean, yeah, it just looked like the West Indies not come to the tournament without much plan because they got away in the last game against Zimbabwe. I thought Zimbabwe made a mess of it, but today they couldn't just get away. I thought yet again Prudence captaincy was questionable in many fronts. I'll get to you, Sandibani, because we did speak about where West Indies batters could falter, and yet again they did falter in the big occasion. They did not have players, and from Puran has not really stepped up. I know that we expect a lot of Puran because he is their marquee player. He's a player who's coming into this tournament with a lot of reputation. And also their openers, Kyle Mayers, we all expect them to step up because they've been playing across the world. What has really happened to them in this tournament? Is it the conditions which got the better of them? Or was it that the pressure of the qualifiers? Because they knew that these smaller nations, they didn't not really expect the small nation to pull up something like this against them, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know actually, because once West Indies lost that game to Scotland, I always knew that there were no strong favorites in this group. Like almost all the four teams were at level with one another, and that just went to show by the fact that both the games today were knockout games. The winner took booked their place in the Super 12s. The loser went home, and I think West Indies. Yeah, I mean it's a mixture of everything over there because they just did not have any sort of consistency, both with the bat and ball. The only game that they won against Zimbabwe, that too they were almost on the verge of losing because Zimbabwe had an electric start. It's just that they faltered on their way. They just tried to be a little too aggressive in a phase where they could have been a bit conservative, and I think that is that was their main sort of mistake, which allowed Zimbabwe to not to lose, not to win that game. But all's well that ends well. Zimbabwe still top that group, top the group in the group stages, so they'll be heading to India's group. But talking about West Indies, I think all in all, not just Nicholas Puran, I think Evan Lewis, Kyle Mayers, Robman Powell, all of them will be very disappointed with the performance. The middle order, especially, did a terrible job. I think Charles was given less opportunities. I mean, he did not play in the first game. In whatever opportunities he got, he did a fair enough job. Brandon King tonight scored that half century, unbeaten half century, but I think he should have scored at a faster pace. They never really
Yeah.
got going throughout the innings. And yesterday we were talking about the fact that Odin Smith, whether he should come in at number 7 or he should be pushed down the order at number 9. So it's good that he finally came in at number 7 ahead of Jason Holder and Akil Hussain, because I always figured that he is a better striker of the ball when it compares to Jason Holder or Akil Hussain. They got some runs towards the end, but 150 was not going to be enough on this track. But again, you expected West Indies with a bowling attack that was in form. Joseph was in form. Holder was bowling well. You also had Obed McCoy, who has had on and off days on the field, and Akil Hussain has been pretty consistent in the power plays. So all in all, it was a good bowling attack, just barring Odin Smith. I mean, Odin Smith with the ball has been in no form whatsoever. Not right now, but straight from the IPL. Also, some questionable captaincy from Nicholas Puran as well. So I think all in all, it came back and hurt West Indies dearly. And this was a knockout game, and Ireland just blowed them apart. It was not even a close contest. It was such a one-sided affair, especially because West Indies did not manage to get those early wickets. And I totally agree with Jerin and you on this, because I would have expected somebody like a Obed McCoy or Alzari Joseph to have had a longer run in that power play. And especially even if needed, Jason Holder and Alzari Joseph should have bowled out within the first 10 overs itself, because your only chance of defending that total was getting early wickets, because we know Ireland, the stronger suit for them was the batting. Yesterday I mentioned that they have a strong batting unit. The bowling might suffer. West Indies could not take advantage of their bowlers. The spinners bowled really well. Delaney, I think, was the man of the match tonight. Brilliant performance from him. Also, Simi Singh is another player that I have been very impressed by, not just in today's game, but also over the past year or so, because he has
Yeah.
been delivering for Ireland consistently with the ball, and even whenever he gets an opportunity with the bat as well, he's a good enough handy batter for the team as well. So yeah, I think all in all, very positive signs for Ireland. They'll be heading to the group with England, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, Australia. So it's going to be a very difficult job for them moving forward in this tournament. But still, good signs, good team, good signs. And also, I think the best two teams really did go through in this group, because I definitely felt that West Indies was not up to their mark. West Indies' performance in this tournament has been pretty mediocre, or one might even say like under average.
I mean, yeah, it was underwhelming performance, to be very fair. Let's pull the groups out on the screen to know where the teams are and what is the groups like now for Super 12. Now, as we already discussed, Ireland are headed to Group One, and Zimbabwe is headed to Group Two, alongside Netherlands who qualified yesterday, and also Sri Lanka who qualified yesterday as well. How do you see this for a team like Zimbabwe, Jaren? Because they're heading into a group which has got India, Pakistan, and South Africa. I think they'll be playing against India in Melbourne, and that's going to be a different challenge for them altogether. And they'll also have a couple of matches in Perth, so not the easiest of groups to head into, because they've got some. They're going to be up against now real firepower, like South Africa and Pakistan have got some good pace attack alongside India. How do you see Zimbabwe's chances now going into this tournament now?
It's, I think, probably, I mean, it's not going to be difficult for anyone to say that this is probably the end of the glory for Zimbabwe, at least how it seems as of now. But then, as we know, cricket can be a funny sport, and things can change very quickly. But that being said, I think at least from what it looks like right now, this is probably the end of the glories for Zimbabwe. This is the first time ever that Zimbabwe has made it into the Super 12, if I'm not wrong, in the T20 World Cup. So, which is a great
They
thing
were
for
there in
them.
the first
And
edition of the T20 World Cup. They had qualified. They beat Australia in
Super 12,
2007.
Super 12. I mean, it's like Super 12. I think this is the
Yeah,
first
we
time
haven't
they've
had this
done that.
format.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Yeah,
format
I
is
mean, it's
quite
only
new.
had it for 2 years,
First
but
time we
the
are
fact
having
that,
this format.
and they have been going through a rough patch, but they've really turned it around. What we really saw from today was very disciplined bowling. That was the only way, I mean, you could have restricted the Scottish team because they did not give an inch away. I think only probably towards the last 5 overs when they bowled a few no balls, I think two no balls back to back in two different overs, is when we saw them slip a little. But they again quickly recovered, both Musrabani and I think it was I forgot the other guy. I mean, other baller's name, but they just they were really good. They were nailing the Yorkers, and when they were not bowling Yorkers, they were bowling those slower deliveries at 104, 105 kilometers per hour on the on the longer side of the boundary. So and that's what I
I think
observed today. There's
Chagara
the two
and
teams.
Ingarava are the other two bowlers, other two paces.
Engarawa,
I
yeah,
think they
correct,
have been brilliant.
Engarawa. And what they did brilliantly was, both the teams, even Ireland and Zimbabwe, what they did really well is they planned their bowling and they realized that this is the area where teams are going to struggle, where teams are going to find it difficult to score, and they've bowled exactly in those areas. They've tried to maximize, the probability of the ball ending up in the hands of their infielders rather than, ending up at the boundary ropes, because what they did excellently well, especially what Zimbabwe did was whenever there was the longer side of the boundary was sort of the offside. They ball these slower cutters wide of near the tram line and never really ball those wide deliveries as well. That was something that's exceptional. I think we've seen how ballers have struggled to ball those wide Yorkers, wide deliveries, and most often than not, at least one or two balls end up being wide. But what Zimbabwe did really well was to make sure that they didn't do it. In terms of their batting, though, they kind of struggled. Like, they have had a terrible start, but then that partnership between Irvine and Sikandar Raza's innings, the strike rate that he played at is exactly where Zimbabwe won the game, because even Manzi, who played, or even Irvine, they both struggled to play those longer innings. But
Yeah,
40 of 23 was just exceptional on that pitch. He really took
yeah,
the steam out of Scottish bowling, because till then it seemed like a 50-50 match. And I think
yeah.
if
It was. It was.
if it had continued in that same vein, it would have become very difficult for Zimbabwe to go on and win. But the fact that that innings came at the exact right moment is where Zimbabwe really took the game away from Scotland, and then there was no way for Scotland to come back.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll have to give
Yeah,
credit
also I
to
think for George
Sikandar
Muncy,
as
this
well.
was the second innings in second time in three innings that he has scored a half century, but at a very slow pace. Because even in the game against West Indies, he got going off the blocks in a proper explosive manner. But as the innings progressed, he found it very difficult to get going. So this has been the case for George Muncy and the Scotland team in general. I think they have struggled scoring those quick runs towards the later half of the game, towards the later half of the tournament, and towards the later half of the innings. And I think that just cost them the opportunity in the tournament, because to start off with a victory against West Indies, nobody expected them to do that. But after that, I think they just fizzled out. But that was expected of Scotland, because heading into this World Cup, I thought that they were the weakest of the four teams in that group. And kudos to them to defeat West Indies, two-time champions, and potentially knock them out of the tournament. Because if West Indies would have won, then it would have all gone
Yeah.
down to the net 100. And still I guess West Indies would have lost. But yeah, that Scotland game was very important for West Indies, and to start off in such a way, they could not recover. But
True.
having said that, I think also Zimbabwe. I think I was very happy to see Craig Irvine get a game, because he played the first game. He was dropped. I think he was injured. Because other than that, I don't see any reason why you have to. Because he was the captain today as well. So I don't see any reason why you needed to drop Irvine unless he was injured for the second game. Came back in the third game, scored that half century. That is why experience is so important, because we have been seeing that Regis Chakava has been playing a completely different role than what he used to play for the Zimbabwean team. He used to come in at number six, number seven, and usually sort of build his innings. And he was not a fast starter. But the role that he plays for this Zimbabwean side is that he comes in and he goes after the bowling right from ball one. Some days it comes off, some day it does not. Today it did not. And yeah, the top order for Zimbabwe is starting to be a concern. But I would if I was in the Zimbabwean camp, I would have been very happy with the group that I got, because I would have taken India, South Africa, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Netherlands over Australia, New Zealand, England, Sri Lanka any day of the week. So
Yeah.
I think that's a group that they will at least like to get two wins, probably defeat Bangladesh and Netherlands uh, at the least, at the very least. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think about, and Sikandar Raza is a superstar of Zimbabwean cricket. This is the second time in 3 games that he has won the man of the match. Two times, like Zimbabwe won uh, 2 games, and Sikandar Raza was the man of the match. Even in the last game against West Indies, where Zimbabwe did not do too well, he picked up 3 wickets. He got off to a start, but got out at the wrong moment. So Sikandar Raza is the only player right now who is sort of carrying Zimbabwe on his shoulders across all formats. I mean, ODI, T20, Test, you name it. Sikandar Raza is doing the job for the team.
Yeah, truly, and you've seen that with his bowling exploits as well. He's really come of age as a bowler. He's, since his remodeled action, added some new variation to his belt, where he's got the quicker one, he's got a googly, he's got an arm ball. So these things also help to make him a well-round, all-round cricketer for Zimbabwe. I think that's where, I thought Zimbabwe won this game just by bowling. And batting is a facet we should talk about, where they were put under pressure, 63 out for three, and for Sikandar Raza to come and play at a strike rate of 173, that's just terrific from him. Well, that's a class, right? Sikandar Raza is the leading run scorer of this T20 World Cup because of the very fact that he's class apart
But
when
even
you look
there
at
are
any
always
player.
two sides to a coin. If Sikandar Raza would have gotten out playing those sort of shots early on tonight as well, I doubt Zimbabwe could have chased it down so easily, because this was the same thing. This was the same problem that they faced against West Indies. So I think a little bit more of game awareness is needed, because when Sikandar Raza came into bat, I think in the at the end of the eighth over, Zimbabwe needed around 90 runs in 12 overs. So the required rate was not really high. Yes, his innings, his X factor batting really gave them the boost, and Zimbabwe easily chased down the total. But I personally would have liked if sort of they would have they get a better understanding while chasing. They get a better understanding of the game while chasing, because sometimes when you're batting like this, you might get you might lose a couple of wickets, and then you might eventually lose the game, and then it will come off as very careless from the team, because it's a knockout game. You're coming in to chase 133. I understand that he just wanted to take the game away from out of Scotland's reach. But still, yeah, these sort of things, they are always come with two sides to it. Like, there is always the positive side, and there is always another flip side to it as well.
True. I mean, that's well put out by Sandeepani there, because for Sikandar Raza, it was playing fire with fire, but then you had to play such an innings also to take your team to a better momentum. You saw Zimbabwe were struggling when Sikandar Raza came into bat, and you saw Craig Irvan's innings also was not the most convincing one. He took his time, like George Munsey, because it was not an easy wicket to bat. As we keep telling time and time again, these qualifiers have been played on drop-in wickets, and these wickets haven't been the easiest for anybody to bat. So that's one of the reasons why you see the batters struggling to get off the block. And I'll come to you, Jaren, because we also have a question now talking about Paul Sterling, another player who impressed everybody. He really had to get going at some stage in the World Cup, and no better day than this. The qualification was on the line, and he came out playing a blinder of a knock against a top quality bowling attack.
Yeah, absolutely. What Paul Sterling, we all know that Paul Sterling is one of the top Irish batters of all time. To be very honest, he's really been there for them for so long as well. He's been he's been a mainstay for them for quite some time, and he came. You know how how the saying goes, right? And when going gets tough, the tough get going, and that's exactly what we saw from Paul Sterling. He was really good today. It was a bit scratchy at the start, but I think that boundary over the slips when he edged the delivery really got him going, and from there on it was they were not able to stop him at all. He really, and also I think Andrew Belburney really helped him, because he was looking a bit scratchy, especially in the first 2 overs where he was hitting the ball in the air. He was finding gaps. Obviously he was hitting the ball, he was trying to get those boundaries early, But luckily, though, he did not get caught out. But what he did is he was able to hit it in those areas where, where fielders were not there, even though it was just chipping in the air. But once
Yeah.
Andrew Balbani really got going, I think a lot of pressure was taken off of him, and then he just started playing his shots, and everything started going his way. And but this is very good sign for very good sign for Ireland, because they need someone like Paul Sterling to really up the ante, top of the order, because Andrew Balbani is not going to play that kind of innings every time. That's not his natural innings of sorts. It's something that we did not expect, I would say, to see Andrew Balbani play. But Paul Sterling will be the one to be expected to up the ante, to score those quick runs in the power play, take the opposition, take the attack to the opposition. And it was good to see he did it today. And even going forward in the Super 12s, that's what Ireland will be hoping he does.
I mean, absolutely. For Ireland, I know they have now put in a very tough position. But anyway, how do you see them going ahead in the tournament? Can they pull out some big upsets in the tournament? Because Super 12 is a different ball game altogether. They're going to be up against the big boys. As you all know, England, Australia, New Zealand, not easy. But if at all, if you give them a chance, can it be against one of the big teams to pull off a big match? Because Paul Sterling is a match winner. Harry Tector is one. Josh Little. These lads have got the potential, and you saw them in the last couple of months as well. They've come very close to winning games, especially against New Zealand and India. So, can this be a World Cup where they get a win here or there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for Ireland, the case has always been so that whenever they qualify to the big stage of the World Cup or T20 World Cups, they take down one team or more. Like, I mean, starting from way back, starting from the 2007 World Cup, they took out Pakistan. And then it's been continuing for them because they have taken out England in the 2011 World Cup, and then you have had instances of brilliance from Ireland. But right now, I think the team is a lot more stable. They have been playing many games with the same team combination, and I think the understanding between the team and all the senior players is pretty good. I think the team environment is at its best for Ireland, because there were lots of changes in the phase between 2007 to 2017, 2018. You saw lots of changes in the Ireland team playing 11 for every game. So right now, I think they have a balanced team. They have, I mean, the bowling is still something that they'll have to really work on if they have to beat some of the bigger teams like New Zealand or England or Australia. If they have to come close to beating them, I think they'll have to work on their bowling, because that's their weaker suit. But the way they bowled today against West Indies, I think if that is going to be the signs of what is to come, then I think these are very positive signs for Ireland, and I think they'll definitely fancy their chances against Afghanistan for sure, because I think like Asian countries in Australia are going to find it very difficult, apart from India, obviously. So it will be interesting to see how they go against Afghanistan. I would definitely back Ireland to beat Afghanistan. But other than that, I think the group looks tough. But again, they have come really close to beating New Zealand in New Zealand in the past, and also they came very close to beating India in their home conditions. So I think they are a very strong team. The seniors in the team are going to play a very important role. Andrew Balburney, Paul Sterling have to deliver and have to put in performances like today, because come the critical situation, come the knockout stage, and obviously the Super 12, when they're playing the big guns, I think their performance is going to be very important in the team's success, because it's all about the start. Uh, uh, things could have been completely different if Ireland would have lost 2 3 wickets early on, and that has been the case with Ireland in the past as well. We have seen Ireland lose a couple of wickets early because Paul Sterling definitely tries to go after the bowling early on. Even today he looked scratchy, rightly pointed out by Jerin. But I think it was Andrew Balburney's innings that really gave him the confidence, and I think Balburney has sort of changed his game slightly, because when you think about Andrew Balburney, you think of him as a great ODI player. When it comes to T20s, he has had struggles with his strike rate, but it's good to see him. It's good to see almost all the players working on their strike rate and trying to be more aggressive and put in more, like, try to put more pressure on the bowlers early on in the innings. So I think these are great signs for T20 cricket. But for Ireland, I think the bowling needs to do continue delivering like they did today, and obviously the senior players too need to step up, because you will need performances from Andrew Balburney and Paul Sterling if you want Ireland to sort of challenge challenge the likes of England, New Zealand, and Australia.
Absolutely. And as we were talking about upsets and how these players, I know we've already had some questions on the players to watch out for. But Jordan, now going ahead, which player do you see can really light up the stage from these associate nations? We know Sikandar Rasa is one. Definitely, he's a complete player. Paul Sterling is another name which comes into my mind. And also from Netherlands, we've got a couple of them. The fast bowlers could be, the bowlers who can actually take a lot of teams by
Yeah, for
surprise.
Netherlands, I think Bas de Leede has done everything. I think he has picked up 7 wickets in the tournament, scored runs whenever the team has needed him to score. So I think Bas de Leede is going to be a big all rounder that you can look out for, because he'll give you a lot of points when it comes to fantasy as
Mhm.
well, fantasy
Yeah,
cricket as
absolutely.
well.
True. So, do you expect someone to have a terrific tournament by, as we're talking about upsets? Can that individual performance help them to take on the big boys like Sikandar Raza and Paul Sterling?
I mean, aside from the names that you already mentioned, I think I'm also looking at someone like Curtis Camphor. He's been excellent. He's had a strike rate of 183 with the bat. He's also been very helpful when it comes to wickets as well. Balls difficult overs for Ireland today. He wasn't as effective. Especially, I think he kind of almost let West Indies get the momentum, and he came into ball. But that's not gonna. I mean, what I've seen with him is he's a very intelligent cricketer. He picks his deliveries that he wants to attack. He is also very good when it comes to. He's very limited as a bowler. He's not the most skilled fast bowler. I mean, bowler you'll see. But what he does is he's excellent with his changeups. He knows the dimensions of the ground, and he makes it very difficult for you to score by just the fact that when he's bowling, he tries to get all the factors in his favor. So if the pitch is if the pitch is going to be a bit slower on the edge and slower, or if it's bouncing a bit, then he'll ball bounces at you, or he'll try to ball the slower deliveries. He'll try to ball to the right side of the ground, which is, I think, it's going to be very important in Australia. You're going to see this kind of strategy come up a lot when you're going to see captains trying to cover up the leg side or the off side, depending on which side is going to be the larger side. We saw that happen today with West Indies and Scotland, where they very much struggled against that kind of targeted bowling, where teams tried to restrict them to the larger side of the ground, and West Indies especially made the mistake of attempting to play those long power shots. So I think that's where you'll see someone like Curtis Camper really come into play. I think this is going to be the World Cup for technical players. Players are going to be able to pick up those gaps. We're going to split the field because boundaries are going to be very important. And in such situations, where ballers are, I mean, because there's long side of the ground, what also comes into picture is the fact that the gaps are going to be much more wider, much more bigger. So if you can pick those gaps, if you have a good range of shots, you can really look to play those shots. So those are kind of players I would really look forward to. That's where I would someone like Max O'Dowd is a very good example again, because he loves to take the charge in the power play. He's someone, I think he's probably the only Irish batsman that we've seen who's really gone after the bowling. I think everyone else has been a bit measured with their approach, but he's just been absolutely beltering balls out of the ground and into the boundary ropes. Even if he's not getting the timing, he's picking those areas where fielders are not outside on the boundary ropes. He's picking those gaps. So even if he's chipping the ball over the infield, he's trying to get those boundaries, trying to score runs. So that's where I think these two players, for me at least, are going to be the ones to watch out.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a good one. Good choices, I would say, especially when it comes to picking up this place. But now I have a question to you, Sandeep, because we are have to talk about West Indies cricket, the decline of West Indies cricket. It's a sad decline indeed, because we were seeing this team dominate world cricket, and especially this format of the game, the two-time world champions. What has really gone wrong for them? Is it just that the conditions do not work in their favor, or and how can they really rectify from here on? From here on, I know it's a long way ahead. The next World Cup will be held in their home soil. The next T20 World Cup isn't West Indies. So in 2 years' time, they'll have possibly new faces in that lineup. Nicholas Puran, not very impressive as captain, as we already discussed in this live show. What's ahead for them? Where are the areas they really have to improve? Is it the batting? I know Hetmeyer's miss was a huge blow for them. I know they dropped him on disciplinary reasons, but now if you look back at it, they really miss someone like a Hetmeyer here, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the middle order was in complete disarray, because they had somebody like a Robin Powell coming in at number 6, but he was not clicking for the team. And I think this has been a case for Robin Powell for quite some time now, because he has been getting a lot of opportunities, and he has that X factor ability to sort of take the game, tilt the game on its head. But with Robman Powell, you also get inconsistency. But that has been the case with most of the West Indies batters as well, not just Robman Powell. I think Evan Lewis, Kyle Mayers, Robman Powell, Nicholas Puran really underperformed. I think the batters really underperformed, and I think they did not give anything to the bowlers to sort of work on. So I think it was a sad tournament for the batters, especially because I think that is the only field where West Indies found it very difficult to sort of get going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I
And
think they could have, yeah, West Indies, it's just sad. I think in 2 years' time they are going to play a home tournament. The T20 World Cup is going to take place at their home, and I think they can really bounce back from here. Because if you think about the team, I think they had a solid team. They had the likes of Robman Powell, Evan Lewis, Johnson, Charles, Kyle Mayers, Nicholas Puran, and Nicholas Puran was coming into this tournament in some great form. He had been averaging close to 40 this year, so he was in good nick. He had a terrific IPL. So I just don't know. I think it's just the pressure of the captaincy, and to add to that, I think they were chasing 150s and 160. Like they batted first in two of the games, but in the first game they were chasing 160, and they just tried to muscle their way through their innings. And I think that is where they lost the game. They should have tried to rotate the strike, but this is the template of West Indian cricket. You try to hit boundaries, you try to finish the game with boundaries. They don't rely on singles and doubles. But I think in Australia you have to be very effective, very sort of aware of the singles, and you have to convert singles into twos and eventually twos into threes, to win, to get that additional 10-15 runs on the board. So I think that is where West Indies really lacked, and I think it is something that will be better. That will they'll definitely improve on it. But I don't think this was the West Indies team that should have gone back home after the group stage, because the
I
team
mean,
looked
truly,
impressive on paper.
I mean, at least they
What
did
do you
on
guys think of
paper. And
what do you guys think of the fact that Hetmeyer is going to be now welcoming his teammates back home? He was in the World Cup. I think they really missed him because the batting of West Indies has not been as at all. I think that's where the downfall has been, to be very honest. Even today's game, they probably missed out on 20-30 runs, and maybe it was Hetmeyer who could have provided that for them.
absolutely,
I mean, I think West Indies has not been doing well ever since I think the Carlos Brathwaite World Cup, 2016 World Cup. They've only won. I think they've only won two of their eight World Cup matches. So I think that's the record, and that's pretty poor for a country like West Indies, which I believe is a specialist T20 side. I mean, they always invest a lot in their T20 teams, and these players are high quality players. Almost all of these players play for franchise teams, so it's not like they're lacking in any quality. In fact, I mean, compare this team to probably the teams that they have, that have been beating them. I think it's just been the fact that they haven't really strategized. Uh, they haven't really changed the kind of the kind of adaptability that you have when you come to a different place. That's what was lacking. And also, I feel the drop in pitches kind of played a role in their in the downfall, because in the Australia series they looked like they competed. I mean, they not win series, but there were moments where you felt like Australia is on the back foot. So if they were able to challenge a team like Australia, I think they had the quality in them, and I don't think it was also about the adaptability in Australia. I think it was just the fact that they got though these pitches were a lot more trickier to bat on, and I think West Indies batting wasn't as quality. I mean, it wasn't able to last as much on these pitches as probably some of the flatter pitches. I think maybe Sydney, or maybe uh, you know, uh, for example, I think Optus Stadium in Perth would have been some places they would have enjoyed, but alas, we won't see these players play there.
I mean, yeah, true, absolutely. And now this is where West Indies will have to go home and they'll have to really retrospect as to what has really happened with them. This is a shocking exit for many reasons, and many people are not surprised as well. You knew that West Indies can falter at some stage to a smaller nation. That's exactly what happened. They lost to Ireland, they lost to Scotland. Now they're on their way out. Zimbabwe game, they did show signs as to what they can possibly bring with the ball. I think it was a
No,
complete
but,
letdown
but
in
but
all the
even in the
departments.
Zimbabwean game, I think they were not up to the mark with their bat. I think 150 on that pitch was not good enough. It was just that some, yeah. Again, I have said that Zimbabwe were a bit careless in that stage, in that chase, and hence they lost. But other than that, I think 153, Zimbabwe would have gone very happy at the halfway stage, thinking that they would have to chase 154.
I mean,
Yeah.
true. I mean, that's where they'll have to really now remodel things, remodify, now look at things in a different perspective and see where they can go from there on. It's a different World Cup for a lot of reasons, you know. It's a World Cup where you'll have to see things from a different perspective, take smarter decisions. I think smarter decisions are the way to go because more smarter decisions you take, you'll be able to have a better World Cup. And that's what happened today. Today, you saw Sikandar Raza taking that smart decision of going behind these kind of ballers, take upping the ante when it was
Yeah.
required, and that's what it is. This World Cup can't be about recklessness. I know fearless is a very good word, but there's a thin line between reckless and fearlessness. And I thought West Indies were reckless in many of these occasions. They wanted to power through. I know it's a very good approach, but targeting the right balls, right side of the boundaries. These are
Mm.
basics of cricket, and I think this World Cup is all going to be sticking back to the basics. But talking about that, we'll have two big
I think
games
the
starting.
teams that have got knocked out, I think there are mixed feelings in the camp. I think UAE will be very happy with their performance in the World Cup, even though they could not make it, but they won one game, and I think UAE beating any of the team in that group was going to be a challenge. They came very close to beating Netherlands as well, so I think it was a great performance from UAE. Talking about Scotland, I think they would be very happy with their performance, beating West Indies, but at the same time it will be mixed feelings because they'll be sad because after beating West Indies they shouldn't have been knocked out this way. But yeah, the West Indies, UAE and Scotland are the teams you expected not to make it through to the Super 12s, but they put up a strong fight. Both of them won at least one game, and this is, I think, the this has been the only sort of T20 World Cup where even in the qualifiers all the teams have won at least one game before getting knocked out. So
Mm.
yeah, they'll have mixed feelings regarding Namibia. Namibia will be very disappointed losing out on the spot, especially after defeating Sri Lanka. And West Indies will be absolutely disheartened with this performance.
Truly, truly, and this is where West Indies also will have to look back alongside Namibia. Namibia is one other team we all expected them to go to the next round, but they also faltered at some stage when it mattered the most. So now we have a question as to whether Super 12 will be unpredictable because Super 12 starts tomorrow. The first game in itself is a big one. It's Australia taking on New Zealand, the big two, the finalists of last year's World Cup. Jen, will it be unpredictable like what we saw in the qualifiers? Will some teams go on to surprise? For example, if New Zealand gets a result there tomorrow, that's going to be a shocking result for a lot of people because New Zealand's record in Australia is bad and they're coming off a poor run of form as well.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow it is Australia's game on paper, but that's what's the whole discussion been about. We did not expect, I mean, whatever we've been expecting, many of those expectations have been shattered in the Super 12. I mean, in the group stage, and because big tournaments, it's not very easy to predict what's going to happen because most often than not, it's all about it's about doing your basics right. But unfortunately, I mean, it's very difficult to do that in a big tournament where the pressure is there and where the whole world is watching. And that's where big tournaments, that's the reason why we love watching these tournaments as fans, because the pressure is enormous and it's about characters, and that's what we've seen throughout this World Cup. I mean, we spoke about for example Sikandar Raza, and we're going to see a lot of these characters come up from the bigger teams. You're going to see some heroics as well. So that's going to be why Super 12 is going to be very unpredictable, and I think that's a very good start to the World Cup. uh, the group stages have been exciting, and some really good show. I mean, some really good tournament there. But tomorrow is where the tournament begins, and I think every cricket fan knows that. And it's going to be exciting to see how New Zealand comes forward. But I really hope we'll have a match tomorrow because I think there's 90% rain predicted in Sydney as well. I mean, the place. So that could be a factor as well. And if who knows, some of these matches might even be rain curtailed, which is just going to add to the unpredictability of the Super 12 because I think I think it's called La Nina event, which is happening
Yeah.
in and around Australia. It's going to bring a lot of rain, and I think the weather conditions are really different from what we expected in Australia. So that's the reason why a lot of the data that we have on how Australia performs and the expectations we have on Australian wickets and the pitches is going to change.
Interesting that you bring that up as well because the rain is going to be a big factor through the course of this tournament and especially affecting the big games. And a lot of people are excited about Super 12s. So far, it did not affect the qualifiers. I hope it does not affect the Super 12s as well because, for Netherlands to Sri Lanka game, there were rains predicted and it did not rain. Same as you expect in the Super 12 big game, especially India Pakistan is what everybody's looking at. And all their eyes are on India Pakistan because there is heavy showers predicted on India Pakistan. But as we are nearing closer to the game, the chance of precipitations have come down drastically, which is good sign for all the fans. So you can expect rain, but not in a larger manner. It might be scattered showers here and there, which is also a good sign. It's not going to affect the game in a larger way. If at all, we might have a game, but a rain curtail game. That's what's more important. We want to have a game. You don't want to see a washout first up in a big contest like this, and especially to start off the World Cup. I hope in Sydney also the rain stays away. I think there are no much rain predicted in Perth, so I think the second game will not have a lot of effect, especially in up test. The Afghanistan versus England game for Afghanistan as well. We not really speak about Afghanistan, but Sandeep, your thoughts on Afghanistan? They are also one of the dark horses in this tournament. At least in Asia Cup, we did give them a lot of chance, but in a tournament like World Cup, different conditions. You saw against Pakistan also, they were not really able to adapt to the pace and balls, though they were able to get off to decent scores of 150 odd, which I believe is a good effort by Afghanistan considering Australian conditions. But can this be a tournament where they really pull out some surprise or string some surprise by defeating some big teams?
Yeah, I think the form of the senior players, I think Rashid Khan, Mujibur Rahman, and Mohammad Nabi are going to be very important because these are the players who have played in the BBL. They know what sort of conditions to expect in Australia. The batters are going to find it very difficult, as I have maintained that all the Asian countries, barring India, does not have a very good record playing in Australia. So I think it is going to be difficult, and especially starting the campaign against England is not going to be easy. It's going to be a big challenge for them, but it will be interesting to see how they go about. If they don't lose too many wickets early on, if they can sort of somehow tackle the early onslaught of Vokes, I think they can sort of put up some total of respectability, and you never know with Mujibur Rahman, Rashid Khan, you never know. But the pace bowling hasn't really. Fazalak Faruqi has shown glimpse of being a great bowler, but there has also been some sort of inconsistency with his performances as well. So the
Yeah,
pace bowling department, I know Umar Gul is the bowling coach, fast bowling, and he has been really working hard on the players. And
yeah,
definitely there has been massive improvement in the fast bowlers of Afghanistan, but I still think they are not on par with some of the best teams in the world, and I think they are still working on it. It is going to be a
mm,
learning curve for them. If I am in the Afghanistan camp, I would be happy even with one victory in the entire group, in the entire Super 12, because they have had sort of challenges trying to win against teams in World Cup, and it has always been a challenge for them. They defeated West Indies way back in 2016, but
yeah,
that's been all about it in terms of upset. They have come really close to defeating teams, but they have really choked under pressure. The players do not have the experience to pull off like pull off performances in high pressure situations. And I think with Rashid Khan, Mohammad Nabi being in the camp for close to 6-7 years now, they should really start to finish off games. So it's always a thing to sort of get your team to a winning spot, and a different thing altogether to finish it off. So I think Afghanistan really have to work on their skills of finishing off games. Other than that, I don't see them making it through to the semifinals, obviously, because you have New Zealand, Australia, England, Sri Lanka in that group. But
yeah.
the Ireland versus Afghanistan game is going to be very interesting, and I think that is the only game where Afghanistan will sort of be favorites starting on, because they got the automatic qualification, so they should be favorites on paper. But other than
At
that, I
least, yeah.
think any win that they get against Sri Lanka or New Zealand or Australia and England, it is going to be a big upset. Not just an upset; it's going to be a big upset.
I mean, very nicely you pointed it out there, the upsets. And we've seen already so many upsets, as one would like to say. I don't know. This tournament has all been about surprise. And if Afghanistan can get a result tomorrow against the big giants of England, then it should be the biggest result of this tournament to start off with. And that's why if New Zealand and Afghanistan can get results tomorrow, that's where you
Because
believe
mind
that
you,
this
we have
tournament.
pitted England higher than Australia and India even when it comes
Yeah,
to a
yeah.
squad
England
strength
are
and
the favorites to win.
definitely.
Also, I think this is England's World Cup to lose more than anything else. This is the moment for them. I know they won in 2010, but this is the moment in the revolution of cricket to go out there, dominate this format. I know they came very close in 2016, where they lost in the last over 2021 again. I thought it was Adil Rashid and Chris Jordan had a couple of bad overs, or else they were also on the course of winning that tournament because they dominated. They dominated Australia in the group stages. They dominated all the team, and they came up against a spirited Kiwi team in the semi-final. But this is a moment they've already shown signs, peaking at the right time. If you'd asked me if English team would be the favorites in July, I would say I would have had my doubts after Morgan's retirement. But now they've peaked at the right time. They've got the confidence from the Pakistan series. But Jaren, am I
And
wrong in
I
saying
think
that this is?
Butler is a very good captain. Butler has been handling the England side really well. I
I
think
mean, yeah,
whatever
he has.
legacy that
He's
Morgan
got the
has left,
experience.
Butler has picked it up from there itself.
But he's got the experience, but we also saw, the transition wasn't easy. You saw the first couple of series,
Definitely,
you
yeah.
saw results not going their way. People started questioning Butler's tactics, Butler's move. Is the English team feeling the transition taking place in them? Jared, my question is to you again. Is it England's World Cup to lose rather than someone outplaying them and them not having a good tournament? Because this is the tournament for them to really capitalize. They've got everything covered. They've got a very strong unit in terms of their all-round ability. Batters are in top-notch form. Liam Livingstone is coming back after an injury, so that's a huge, huge bolster of their confidence. How do you see this English team, and can they really go on to win this World Cup?
I mean, they should. I mean, all the pundits all across the world rate England very highly, and there's a reason for that. I mean, the way, and especially, I think their performance against Australia in the bilateral series was an exceptional start for them. I think you saw how they were able to defend targets on these grounds, which were pretty flat, and these were run scoring, highly run scoring matches as well. And most of the bowlers have come clutch for them. I mean, I think Reece Topley, though, missing out is going to be a big, big miss for them. He's been an excellent bowler for them in the past few months leading up to this World Cup. And I mean, really have to feel for him as well. He's really, cemented a place for himself in the white ball format for England. And then from there, to have missed the World Cup with an injury right at the precipice of the World Cup is going to hurt him a lot. But it's not going to change a lot for England. I think in some ways, it's going to help Josh Butler make some easier decisions because I think it would have been difficult. We had a discussion on if Rashid Khan would be missing out or not. I think Chris Wokes, for instance, some of these players would now it would be much easier for Josh Butler to make a decision of first 11. But yeah, I mean, to be very honest, you're right. This is a World Cup for them. The stage is set. As you say, the red carpet is laid for them to win this trophy. But as we've discussed, big tournaments, you never know what can happen. Tomorrow's match is going to be very important. It's important to start on the right, on the right foot. And Afghanistan shouldn't be a threat. But that being said, I think a new ball and the new ball could be where Afghanistan might just spring a surprise, because they've got some good ballers out there, and England doesn't really face these ballers. So somewhere maybe you have an element of surprise for them, for the Afghanistani ballers, but the fast ballers that I'm talking about. But then it should be England's match, and I mean an upset. The probability of this being an upset tomorrow is very very less. At least from my calculations, I mean from my point of view, I think tomorrow is going to be a cakewalk for England, especially because it's a lot more flatter as well. The pitch.
I mean, yeah, I mean, absolutely. The pitch in Optes is going to suit the English team more than anything, is what I believe. And it's not going to be easy for Afghanistan. They really have to play out of their skin. They'll have to play the best T20 cricket they've ever played to even to stand a chance. I know it kind of sounds like very derogatory on a team, but no disrespect to Afghanistan. It is just because of the kind of wind which England is now riding on. It has been the English win for the last 6 years in this white ball format, and I think to culminate it, it'll be ideal for them to get that hold on the T20 World Cup. I know they've already won it, but then this would be the ideal, scenario for them to be the champions of world in the 50 over and T20 World Cup to culminate the win. I think they're only going to get better in the coming years, but I'm telling you, This is their World Cup to lose rather than anything else. England are the strong favorites. If I have to bet, I think my odds will be 3-1 for England to win the World Cup, and that's how strong it has been. I think every third person will say England are the favorites
I'll
leading
take
into.
that bet.
Yeah, anybody will take it, and that's a fact. So we've got Matthias asking us an interesting question as well. I think now on the lighter note, tell me folks, what are your favorite cuisine or dish? I'll start with Sanjeevani, what's your favorite dish? If you have to compare a dish with your favorite team, how will you take it?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure because mm, probably, yeah, because we in Bengal, like we are popular for our sweets, but favorite cuisine, I think it all depends on the mood. I think if you talk about dish, I think I'll prefer Mughal foods like biryani or tandoori, something like that. So
Oh,
I'm very Punjabi that way.
Sanjeevani prefers the Mughal foods, and you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
which team is supporting by taking the Mughal foods. Okay, Jaren, what's your favorite cuisine, and what would you prefer? I don't know. We're having food partners for this for Boom 11, so we have to order from Rebel Foods or anybody for this T20 World Cup. What would be your comfort food for this World Cup? And if you have to choose it with your favorite team, how would you rate it? I know it's a very cliche question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I would go with chicken curry. I think that's pretty Indian of me to say. But it's just what
Very
I
safe
love.
answer.
Huh?
A very safe answer.
Yeah, it's a very safe answer. It's a very secular answer, so as to say. Uh, no one, no one's gonna go after me on Twitter. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean
yeah.
that's pretty much what I would go with. And I mean, I've some of my greatest memories or cricketing memories, to be very honest, is chicken
With the
and
chicken
chapati. I
curry?
think, yeah, and chicken curry. And watching the late night IPL matches. I think that's my cricketing memory. So, uh, I mean, I don't know if I can
Love that.
relate that to a team. I mean,
Which is the spicier chicken of this
yeah.
tournament. I think it's gonna be tough to choose. I would like to resonate with a lot of teams. I think English is wearing a red spicy look. I think they can be one of the.
That's a bit
I love
odd
the
for
English.
English teams.
Yeah,
Spicy look.
yeah, definitely. I mean, but I like the English kit to say the least.
Yeah,
They've
it's
been
one of
they've
the
got.
best picks. Yeah. But Abel, you shouldn't be escaping the question. What is your favorite?
Definitely, yeah.
I mean,
Abel is a big
anything.
foodie. I mean, I think you will probably see Abel having a food vlog side by side. I mean,
I'm very critical of food. I'm very honest. If the food is not good, I can also be very critical of it. But I think I like to go Mediterranean or anything. Arabic cuisine is nice. I love Arabic cuisine, shawarma, anything of that sort. For a match, like to watch a match of shawarma. I forgot all the UEFA Champions League memories with shawarma and a Pepsi in my hands. So that's where late night. I think when India won the World Cup to 2011, I was eating a shawarma as well, if I'm not wrong. So a lot of memories there. I remember. So
I
I
think
think
23rd Abel, you probably need to take a shawarma with you into the exam hall just so that we have some luck against
let me be very
Pakistan.
honest. I think the Asia Cup, this recently concluded Asia Cup, where India won that game against Pakistan, I was eating shawarma. The next game where India lost, I was not eating a shawarma. So I think it's a lucky food. So let's be honest. I think that's a good comfort food. But yeah, I mean, I have to speak. I'm not a big fan of superstitions. I don't believe in this kind of nonsense. But people do. I mean, in our country, at least, people do it in a big way. People do. People have got very serious superstitions that they don't move, they don't go to places. So do let me know. I mean, what are your favorite cricketing memories? What is your favorite food to eat while sitting at home and watching a
And
match?
if you're an Indian, I think all the Indians will come in and say to 2011
I
World
mean,
Cup.
I think
Yeah,
on
that's going to
Diwali,
be the
I
favorite
think it
cricketing
has to be
memory for
sweet,
many.
right? 23rd
Yeah,
should be a no-brainer. You should be having sweets, regardless of what the result of the match is. I think the sweet is going to taste a little more sweeter if India gets a win there. But yeah, it's Choti Diwali on 23rd, and I think everybody's going to be hooked
definitely.
on that.
And I think
That
India are the favorites. Honestly, I feel India are the favorites, even though Pakistan have the sort of Shaheen Shafri is back in the camp. They have
Hmm.
looked good in the warm up games.
Hmm.
But I
But you
still
know
feel
what?
that.
I've been very fortunate enough to talk to a couple of people in Australia right now, who's currently living in Australia, and what the vibe I'm getting is that Pakistanis are very confident that they'll defeat India this time. The fans from Pakistan, for the first time ever, leading into a World Cup, are super confident. The media of Pakistan are very confident, and also with what's happening around Asia Cup, India not traveling there, it's added a little more spice to this contest off the
Yeah,
field.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think it's going
But
to add a lot on the field,
that
but
is
yeah.
I
when the
think for
maximum
me,
number of
if the
cases
conditions
is broken,
remain,
right? When you have expectation.
I mean, at least, I mean, it's good to see, for the first time ever, Pakistan is very confident that they're going to defeat India. They say that there is no chance that India are going to lose this match, are going to win this match
I
because
mean, it's
they
good to
believe.
be confident. It's good to go into a game being very confident, but with expectation comes great disappointment as well.
I mean, yeah,
Sandeep
but
is
yeah,
all setting himself up. I'm expecting this 23rd, I mean
No, I
24th
mean,
rather, when
Abel
we come.
has already said that I prefer Mughlai's food, so you know which team I'm inclining towards. So I have to come back, like come to my defense at least.
let me be very honest. I like the Pakistani cuisine. I know we're going very off topic from cricket, but Pakistani food is very good for a lot of reasons. It's really top notch. The grill, whatever they serve, if you're a big fan of mutton, it's great. If you go to Pakistan for vegetarian, I can't really pick vegetarian there. It's all about the gosht. It's all about chicken from Pakistan. But let me be very honest. If you're a Pakistani watching, I know the Pakistani food is top notch, and I know that to be very honest, me being brought up in UAE as well, the culture is very same. At the end of the day, you speak in almost same language. I know it's Urdu, it's Hindi, but you relate with them in a lot of ways. So I think whatever drama is being
So I
created in
think
political
whatever
ways.
differences are between India and Pakistan, it's always been political, not. Or, I mean, it's not much about culture or anything. I mean, even tomorrow when we go in to the I mean, not tomorrow, rather 23rd, when we go into the match, all the contentions are political, and sport, I think, transcends politics, and we've seen that happen so many times. I mean, there's always going to be. So I think politics is very penetrative. It's going to find its place everywhere, but at the end of the day, it's all about what happens on the pitch and what happens in those 40 overs. Hoping that we get those 40 overs. But yeah, I think, with that being said, I think Pakistan would be really happy if there's a bit of a breeze blowing, and if those conditions are a bit more, it's a bit more cloudier. I mean, it's not like
Yeah, I think
you're going to see those
overcast
clouds in
conditions
the
with the
sky,
bowling attack that
but
Pakistan
if
has.
yeah, and if there's a bit of a breeze blowing, the ball does a bit, then I think I would say that Pakistan start off as a favorites only then. But otherwise, if the skies are
But
clear,
honestly, Jaren, so does
yeah,
India. I think with Mohammad Shami coming into the side, I think if he plays in place of Harshal Patel, I think we have a very good, strong
I know
I'm
you
like
might see that
opening bowling
happen as
attack
well.
with
You might see that
Bhuvneshwar Kumar
happen
at
as
the
well.
moment.
If the ball is swinging a bit, if the conditions are like that, you might see Mohammad Sami might just make a play.
I think
Might just make a
Bhuvaneshwar
play for.
Kumar is going to be the dark horse there. I think he's going to be
Yeah,
the
I
ball
mean,
who's going to
and
be
but
really there.
that being said, I think Pakistan. My point was going to be the fact that Pakistan would prefer that
Let
being
me
the
tell you one
condition
thing. Let me
rather
tell you
than.
one thing, right? Let me tell you one thing. If the ball is going to swing, Pakistan are going to play with are going to go in with Mohammad Wasim for sure, and Haris Rock.
Hmm,
These two ballers go out of the equation in that case. They are not seam ballers and not swing ballers.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
proper ballers. Only ball who will be affected there is Shaheen Afridi. But for India on the upside, you'll have Arshdeep who can swing the ball. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar can swing the ball. Mohammad Shami can swing and seam the ball. So that is where India has got three ballers where Pakistan will have to rely on one. You have to think in that perspective. I know
Hmm.
Pakistan have got a good
No, but
balanced
you
bowling
also have
lineup.
the likes of
Nothing,
Nasim Shah.
Shah,
I
right?
think Nasim Shah will
Yeah.
I
get
don't think
get
Nasim
not
Shah will
ahead of.
play. Nasim Shah is not going to play for sure. I think Mohammad Wasim,
No, I
judging
mean
from
if
whatever.
you have overcast conditions, I think Nasim Shah will get the nod ahead of Mohammad Wasim because
Very, very rare. I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
I think
Pakistan is a.
on this part, I'll have to agree with Abel, because Pakistan, their selection has been purely based on form, and to sometimes upsettingly so on based on form. They're very particular about form. That's what we have seen. That's the reason why we saw straight after Asia Cup, a team which was almost coming together was suddenly shuffled and changed for the tri series in
I,
New
I
Zealand.
think I think we
So
should have the discussion for tomorrow. I think we're already getting too much
yeah, they
into it.
are kind of going into that.
I think we
Correct.
shouldn't go.
yeah,
We
yeah.
shouldn't go there right now. I think
So
we
it's
should
it's
save it.
England versus Afghanistan and Australia versus New Zealand. So I think
Predictions.
it's
I
going to
think
be
we'll
England
come
and
for
Australia.
predictions today evening. later tonight. We'll be coming in 3 hours time from now. So if you are already watching us, get ready. We'll be coming for the fantasy picks, the whole new segment. What we've got predictors and fantasy segment. As we've already launched a predictor on our app. If you have not already tried it, get onto our app right now. Predict for every match. You're gonna go out there and win prizes. You can get cash back, cash vouchers, and many more. So this is your opportunity. Do not miss out on that chance. Have a good time playing all this with Boomer 11, this T20 World Cup, because this T20 World Cup is going to be very different from any other T20 World Cup because of the conditions, everything, resonated with it. So I'm very excited. We all are very excited about Super 12, which gets starting for tomorrow. I know people were saying it's boring to watch the qualifiers, but the quality of cricket has been top notch. We already saw surprises. I'm expecting more of surprises in the Super 12s as well. So good night, gentlemen,
I
and
think,
see you all in three
yeah.
hours time.
Yeah.
Good night, guys. See you soon, though.
Bye, guys. Yeah, see you soon.
Bye is a better option.